with Mystic Madison, and today we have a very ethereal show. Notice the lighting, notice the backlit-ness, but we have Solaris with us, who's a fairy astrologer.
Yay.
Who came to join us. And why don't you introduce yourself and maybe tell our beautiful guests what exactly a fairy astrologer is.
Very, very cool. All right. So hi, I am Solaris.
Yay! I'm so glad she made it here like 2 seconds ago.
I was manifesting to get here on time. I was like praying to the fairies and angels. I was like, just clear the traffic and let everything go by. And we did. We made it happen in like 2 minutes.
Yes. She's here. She's safe and sound. And the fairies delivered her.
They did. They delivered me into this ethereal garden
of wonderment. The ethereal garden of wonderment.
Yes.
So you're a fairy astrologer.
I am. So back in the day, back when in like 2005, my aunt actually got me into this. She gave me my very first deck of tarot cards, and it's by Doreen Virtue. So it's an oracle deck, and it's called Heal Your Life with the Fairies, or Healing with the Fairies Oracle. So I really love it. And this is actually the book that got me into metaphysics. Before that, I had always kind of thought that there was really a lot of truth to it, but I had been raised more in like a Christian upbringing and it didn't really feel right to me. And when she gave me this fairy deck, it really resonated with me. And she also gave me this really cool book by Sylvia Brown called The Other Side and Back. And so it was really the combination of both things that really kind of launched me into like the spiritual world, the new age world and everything. So this is my first deck, which we'll be doing readings with, which I love. So it's like my very first precious little deck. So
she's going to give me a reading. I'm so excited. Oh,
yeah,
and, you know, I should let them know, not to cut you off, but people can call in.
Oh, yeah, call in if you want to.
It might be an issue with the app because we haven't had a lot of callers, but I just want you guys to know that that offer still stands. Feel free to call in. You can run a question by Solaris, and she can give you an answer from the fairies.
Absolutely. So this was a very cool fairy deck. Another fairy deck came out a few years later called Magical Messages from the Fairies. It's again by Doreen Virtue. So there are a lot of fairy decks you can use and try if you want to get into it. And also Brian Froud, where I have this magazine we'll talk about later, he also comes out with a really cool fairy deck as well. And so his is different. It's not like Doreen Virtue. He comes up with a lot of cool stuff. He does very kind of like Fraggle Rock / like that type of Jim Henson-y type of art. So he has like a different type of theme. He's from England. So it's cool in that way. So there's all sorts of different fairy decks. So I got into the fairy decks a lot to do oracle cards and wisdom. And at the same time, I was being tutored by this incredible astrologer, Josephine Alvarez in Florida. And she just taught me everything that she knew about astrology. And I always knew that there were 12 signs and you have a sun sign and that makes up some of your personality. And that was great. But that was all I knew about it. And then with her tutoring, I was able to discover that every single planet has a sign and it affects everything else. And your planets and my planets will interact. And then the planets of the location you're in will interact. And it just, everything interacts with everything else. And so combining the fairy oracle cards with the astrology is how I do my readings. And there's also fairies in astrology. I'm not sure if you guys know this part. There is the queen fairy, Lilith. And there's something called the dark moon in astrology, which talks about your shadow side. And so the queen of the fairies is part of that moon. So fairies and astrology are actually connected.
Yeah, when I think about astrology, I mean, I know it's like it's tied into ancient Greek history. That's why the words are Greek words. But it to me, it seems like there would be an overlap with the paganism. When I think of fairies, I think of things of the earth and earth spirits. And I know there's so many earth spirits, and fairies is just one genre of them. But yeah, it's interesting because it's not something that I think we focus on a lot as a culture. I think we're much more into angels.
Right.
Or, you know, we don't really give fairies enough credit.
No, what I think is very cool that you bring up is the pagan association with fairies, because paganism, it kind of originated in the United Kingdom. And that's where fairies are. So if you go to Europe, it's a totally different experience than if you're here in America.
Interesting.
And so if you go there, they have large stones in the middle of roads that they will not move because they feel like the earth spirits will be upset. They have a huge culture with fairies and gnomes and elves and stuff like that. But you wouldn't think that here. Like if you look at Norway and you look at England and you look at Ireland, like they have a huge leprechauns, and they have a huge kind of folklore.
Well, they're like really connected to the Druids. I mean,
yes, and the Druidic,
you have like
yes.
Stonehenge.
Yes,
and you have places that are sacred that is a whole different energy than kind of what we do here.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's older. I mean,
yes.
maybe that's because Europe is so much older than we are.
It is.
And it ties in that historical element.
Yeah, I really agree with you. Definitely. But I think it's very true. I think different cultures have different belief systems. Like if you go to Eastern religions, they think angels are crazy or different, So each culture will have their own kind of
mythologies
and spiritual divinations and archetypes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What do you think fairies, Solaris, are here to tell us? Like
they all.
I mean, I know we're not talking about elves today. We're not talking about gnomes, but fairies have a certain energy.
Yes. Well, the word on the spiritual street is that fairies are supposed to make you play and have more fun. So basically, where angels are supposed to be able to come down and intervene in crisis situations, fairies are less emergency driven. They're more just kind of here to enjoy.
They're less emergency driven.
It's not. I mean,
it's an emergency. You must play. That's
well,
this is the first show. I want to tell everybody this, that we have children that share our courtyard, and I'm usually I would be thinking, oh my God, we have to let the children know that we're doing a podcast.
No,
it's part of today's energy. I think
it's playful, it's childlike, and that's really what the fairy
and they've never done that before either.
This
love
is like
that. The first time it was brought by the fairies.
Exactly. And actually, it's interesting that, when you talk about emergency situations, there is actually one emergency where you can call upon fairies if you want to. And that's when you're missing your animals. So if you have a lost pet, or if you have an animal that you don't know where they went to, or they haven't come home in a long time, you can call upon or pray to Lilith, the queen fairy. And so apparently, since fairies are closer to the ground than angels, they're supposed to be able to work faster. So you can pray to your fairy or to Lilith in order to help your animals come home safely. And so theoretically, the fairy is supposed to be able to go out and find the animal and bring the animal back.
Yeah, by playing with them, by like throwing the ball.
Yeah, like enticing them back
or like
in.
Holding the little rod with the little feather on the end for the kitties.
Yes. Yeah.
I do want to share a story, and I actually really want to hear if you've had any fairy experiences. Mm-hmm. But I told you that my I know about a fairy experience that I'd like to share with all of you.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, so this happened when it didn't. First of all, let me give my disclaimer. It did not happen to me. Mm-hmm. It happened to my younger brother, who at the time, I believe, we're 5 years apart. So he was probably not older than 4.5. And I was around 8 or 9. Mm-hmm. And he told me one morning that he woke up and it was still almost dark out. It was just beginning to become dawn, and the light was just starting to enter the room. And he said that there were these little people in his bed. And he said that, I said, little people? And he said, yeah, there was a whole family of little people. And they were playing with me. And I said, were you scared? What did they look like? And he said that they had wings. Mm-hmm. And he said that they had faces and they were smiling. Aww. And he would put out his hand and they would play a little game where they would jump on the hand and jump off the hand.
That's cute.
Now, he was really young.
How old was he? Like a kid?
He was like 4.5.
Yeah.
He was like maybe somewhere in between 4 and 4.5. And I remember being an intuitive child. It felt right. It felt like what he was telling me was actually honest, truthful, and he wasn't making it up.
Yeah.
And he said it with such conviction and such sincerity. And he was so young, it was not to inspire any sort of reaction in me. He just wanted to tell me that this is what happened to him. And they were all little people that were jumping around. And then I remember him telling me that as it started to get light, they left. Mm-hmm. And I think they even may have waved. I mean, this is truly what I remember him saying. They waved to him, and there was almost like he didn't describe it like this, but it almost sounded like the time came to an end. Mm-hmm. And there was like a gratitude, and he was happy, they were happy, and I don't believe it ever happened again.
That's amazing. I love that.
But he still remembers it. I mean, I can talk to him about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that fairies usually would go more to children because they're more into that imaginary make-believe fantasy start stage of their development. And so because of that, they would be more open and receptive to that sort of thing than maybe an adult who might be more narrow-minded or might not, anticipate that in their normal experience. So,
well, I think we really get solidified here
Yes.
into the paradigm of what is concrete and real, and anything on the other side of that probably is hard for our brain at this point to accept.
Yeah.
But yeah, children, they have imaginary friends and all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you heard about that situation? Or I'm just wondering if people have had that situation where they actually see something, or if it's just like an intuitive awareness, or
I think everybody's gift works differently.
Yeah,
For me,
sure.
I did have a fairy experience, and it was actually really cool. It was maybe about a year after I got the cards, and I was really working with them a lot every day because, whenever you get involved in a relationship, you're always like, what does he like me?
And also as a tarot
Yes.
reader, you
Oh
get
my
a
gosh.
little,
Yeah, so I was always like playing with the cards and everything. And I don't know if I was feeling disillusioned that day, but I was feeling maybe like not disillusioned about fairies or anything, but just disillusioned maybe about like love or, like maybe having a bad day. And I remember I was, playing with the cards. And then afterwards I went into the shower and I was in this townhouse in my house. And the townhouse did not have any windows in the bathroom whatsoever. So there was no way that light could get in. But I'm in the shower and I'm looking at the stream of water, and all of a sudden, and I'm not a visual person, I don't see ghosts normally visually. Usually my gift works in other forms.
right,
ways.
of course.
So I'm not somebody that really like sees things visually. Usually it'll be like a sensing. So I was in the shower and there's no external light, whatever, to come in to change anything. And all of a sudden, things that are maybe the size of, gosh, I'm trying to think, maybe of like a grain of rice. There's about like 20 or 30 of them right in front of my face that materialize as white, like glowing orbs that are the size of a grain of rice. And they're all kind of weaving in and out like this. And about 5 seconds later, they all dematerialize. And I was like, okay, that was pretty crazy and cool. So I was normally looking at it in a logical way. I was like, oh, was any external light? Was my bathroom door open? But nothing. There was no way that any external light could be refracting off that light, off the water. So I thought that was pretty cool. And that was my first and only fairy experience. But I have been invited to go to England to speak at this magazine that I write for, Faye.
You should show everybody. So
yes.
she's a writer. Have you been doing it like once a month, or
is
it just
seasonally?
as needed?
We do it seasonally, and so this is a magazine called Fae, which is really fairies and enchantment magazine. I've been doing this or writing their fairy scopes, which is fairy astrology,
like horoscopes.
Yeah, fairy horoscopes for all the signs since 2012 for this one. For this magazine. So they invited me over to the United Kingdom anytime I can go to, have a talk and, do a speech. And then also,
wow.
It's really
and they have
pretty
beautiful
art.
clothing.
Beautiful clothing. Like I would wear that dress.
It's like fairy princess clothing.
I said, one for you, one for me. We get them.
Yes, let's go.
Let's go. And, I feel like if I were in England or United Kingdom in a place that has the energy that's very supportive of fairies, I feel like maybe I would have more experiences in that way.
But also maybe the land.
Maybe
it's in the soil.
I feel like,
that's what I'm thinking.
Well, they say that in the world, there are different energy centers. There are different chakras of the world. Like Austria is the heart chakra of the world.
I didn't know this.
Oh, yeah. It's so fun.
What is LA?
Oh,
is that
probably
chakra?
Like,
the armpit? No,
it's like the hell of the world.
I don't know.
Sin. No, I'm not sure what LA is, but they do say that when your soul comes to California, that something in your energy wants to be activated spiritually because we're close to Lemuria, where the hidden, the city sank.
I didn't know.
And if you go to Florida, that your higher self or your soul is guiding you there to become more spiritual because it's supposed to be close to Atlantis.
What is there's actually a word, astrocartography.
Astrocartography. Good job, Madison.
Yes, astrocartography. Look it up, you guys. But
yes.
I guess that's lining up your birth date with different locations to see where you would thrive or have like sort of these extraordinary experiences.
Yes, exactly. And then you can even plan it for your day-to-day life, like family and love and work. Wherever a city or a state or a country is founded or incorporated, that gives it a birthday. Like for instance, United States is 1976. So, I mean, sorry, 1776.
Right.
So that makes it have the birthday of the United States.
And it's July 4th, which
July
makes it a
4th,
Cancer.
Which makes it a Cancer.
Yeah.
So you can go even more in detail, like Los Angeles is a Virgo, and California is a Virgo, and Santa Monica is a Sagittarius. So like Santa Monica would be very lucky for you to live. And so is San Diego. That's another Sagittarius. So for Sagittarius fairies,
yes.
I would say that you would be very lucky in those areas.
So LA is actually a double Virgo.
LA is a double Virgo, which can be pretty intense for Sagittarius.
Yeah. No, but it's also very interesting because there's a high degree of perfectionism here.
Absolutely.
There's a
perfection and working hard.
Yeah, and people really want to have a perfect appearance. There's a lot of plastic surgery out
and
here.
A lot of communications, like in the communications industry with the entertainment industry.
Yeah, that's right. That's
writing,
very interesting.
Writing, directing, organization.
Yes.
That's very Virgo, the scheduling and the organizing.
Yes.
So like producers.
Yeah. Interesting. So every place has an energy field.
Yes.
And it's interesting that it makes sense to me that if you went to an old place like England, the UK, Ireland, Scotland, I mean, there would be a whole subspecies there that they're more tapped into.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like every area has its own energy. It has its own, theoretically, it's supposed to awaken different pockets of information in your own soul. So you would go to different places for times of enlightenment. So,
some people might not know about Atlantis. Or should we tell them about that since we have time?
Let's do it.
So you meant, and I'm not even really familiar with Lemuria.
Okay. So, and that's where Lemurian seed crystals come from. So if you find a quartz crystal and it has a lot of ridges or grooves in it that are all very horizontal in this way, then what happens is they say it's a Lemurian seed crystal from the city of Atlantis, which was an ancient city that now is sunk beneath the ocean, which I guess over time the sand has eroded it away. And those crystals are supposed to hold, they say Lemuria was connected more to alien energy. They say that Lemuria was more of like a very crystal city with a lot of heightened kind of metaphysical kind of spiritual practice. But Atlantis, it's like sister city or like the other city.
Were they at the same time?
They were, I don't know if they were at the same time, but basically, I would say they were probably most likely at the same time.
Like think LA, New York.
Yes, but Atlantis was also spiritual and like metaphysical, but it was also corrupt and it was also very technological based. So when they advanced their technology, apparently there was very corrupt, like the fall of Rome or like an Egyptian thing, where apparently that sunk. So
we really, I think that's a good warning for us.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe someone can listen to this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's so fascinating. So are you definitely going to go?
I would love to go. So what they have, which it's like my paradise. Maybe you guys can go. One day, I hope to have enough money to go. And they have this fairy ball twice a year. It's magical. God. It is so cool. Like, how fun would it be to rent like a big fairy dress and go with your Prince Charming and like show up at this fairy ball? It just sounds so magical.
Where is this?
They have it in Cornwall, I believe it is. Don't quote me. It may be a different city. The editor-in-chief, Karen, holds it, so she may change the venues around. But they basically, it's like a one big Renaissance festival.
But for fairies.
But fairies, and I think they kind of include like unicorns, mermaids, any type of kind of fantasy folk they want. So they make it themed that way. But yeah, so for fairies, they have like a whole cosplay thing about it. And so you go there, and they have one, I believe it's on the spring equinox and then the fall equinox. They have it. The summer solstice, I believe, has it. They have a winter one. So like 4 times a year or 3 times a year, they have this like big fairy ball. So one is like around Halloween time, and then the other one is in like March time. And so it just sounds amazing. So I would love to go to the festival and give the talk and go to the ball.
So when I'm 100% sure you will get there. But So what do you talk about when you do talks?
Right. Well, it's interesting. Sometimes what I do is I just do like a lot of live readings for people. So sometimes when they ask me to speak, I'll just have everybody group around and I'll give kind of a general talk about astrology, what it is, and fairies, and kind of like how it relates to the current day time with like, what's coming up now for you. And then individually, people will just say their birthdays, and then I'll just kind of read them in the crowd as they tell me their birthday and their information and stuff.
Wow.
So usually it's just like series of like open house readings. So it's cool. You know,
It
and then
sounds
talking.
it sounds like organized chaos.
It is organized chaos.
But it sounds like it's probably very good.
Yeah, the first part is organized, and then there's a lot of chaos.
But people get their messages and they get what they need.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was thinking when you were talking about the little, like how you saw these almost like grains of rice, it kind of made me think that there's probably a lot of different species of fairies.
Yeah.
Like if my brother saw these very small people that he imagined had wings,
Yes.
And faces that look just like us, I wouldn't be surprised if that's just one type.
Yeah, though they say there are house fairies where they go inside. They say that, I mean, they really connect more to the elements or elemental fairies. So usually they'll be more like plant fairies or water fairies or forest fairies. So there's different fairies in different kind of areas. But yeah, no, I hear that there's, fairies that watch over animals, fairies that go into the house. So
see,
kids.
We need to give fairies more recognition.
Yeah.
You know, I actually did know someone, her husband worked in the film industry and he was like a set designer, and I loved their home because they had, I don't know if you've seen these little fairy houses.
Oh yes.
Have you seen
yes,
those?
I have.
And he actually made them.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually since seen them up in Idlewild.
I saw
awesome. Somebody makes them. So what that is these very, very minuscule, scaled down little
like little birdhouses almost for fairies. So they're like teeny little homes that you make.
Yes,
and you put them outside.
They're intricate. I mean, they have stairwells inside, and they look like little Snow White houses.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, they're made from like twigs and wood, but they're all made very much to scale with little windows that you can look through. I've seen them with furniture in them.
Yes.
And I remember asking this woman, Bridget, I said, what are these? I mean, there were quite a few, like almost like a little partial neighborhood.
Yeah.
And
like dollhouses.
She had they also had like a makeshift pond out there as well. And she said, oh, he makes those for the fairies. And she was also a really cool lady. She was a shaman, and she had done sweat lodges, and she had this Native American sort of background. So I thought that was really cool. And she's the first person that introduced me to the idea that
is so cool.
More people than my brother having this experience really believe in this.
Yes.
Actually, I want to give a shout out not to my brother, because
your fairy brother.
He's not watching. I think he's at work, but I want to give a shout out for the Renaissance Fair.
Yes, because it's going on right now.
It's going on right now, and you were talking about this thing that happens, the fairy ball. But lately I've been seeing more and more fairy stuff at the Renaissance Fair.
Yes.
Have you been there recently?
I haven't been this year yet. I really do want to go, but I was there last year, a few years ago, and it's always amazing when it comes out. Oh my gosh. Like, it's something that you did when you're a kid that's still around that you can keep doing, and you see these shows and like these joustings, and you get clam chowder and a bread bowl, and they usually give big turkey legs. Yes, exactly.
Big King Arthur turkey legs.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But that's Annabelle.
I love her. I love her kitty.
So yeah, it's just it's funny though, because now they've brought in, the Renaissance Fair has brought in like pirates. It's brought in steampunk is another.
Oh yeah, steampunk has become really big.
And the thing that's great about steampunk is the clothing.
That's what I love.
The clothing and the jewelry.
It's so hot.
It's sort of like a fusion of like the 1800s and technology.
Oh my gosh.
And
I love it.
And it's like you'd get a watch, but the watch you could see the makings of the clock on the inside.
Yeah,
it's just awesome.
Oh, it's so cool.
So, but they do have a lot of fairy stuff. I've seen a lot of people walking around with spray, like sort of, what is that called, where you spray your body and you have this amazing makeup, amazing like
a body paint or body tattoo.
Yeah, it's hard. That was called like spray something, but I've seen so many people that are now into the whole fairy culture. It's so cool. But you brought your fairy
I brought some
dust.
fairy dust for you.
I want to hear about your fairy dust.
Well, every fairy needs a fairy dust. And I figured in honor today of the fairies, if you would like to have some fairy dust.
I would love to have
that is awesome. I wear it as makeup, but you can wear it. Oh, I see. Maybe it goes like this. No. Technical difficulties. So yeah, so basically,
this is also the first time our kitty has come out and like really mingled.
Yeah,
it must
knows.
be. Yeah, she must know.
You must know. So I'm having some tough times getting this actually opened.
That's because
Maybe you have more magic than me.
Is that because this is new? Did you bring me like the brand new?
It's brand
version?
new. It's perfect and fresh for you.
Oh my God!
You found
so much fell
so
out,
many
though.
fairy dust. Oh, you're gonna be so lucky.
Look at all that fairy dust. This is beautiful, but I feel badly. Like I don't want to waste it.
Oh, baby, you just need all that magic.
I think I do.
Clearly,
oh
you need all that magic.
And I'm actually going to an event tonight, so maybe it will just envelop me in just magic.
Nice. There we go.
Where did you get that? Could I?
Yeah.
You know, this is like really fine texture. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's actually like really special.
Yeah, you know, you put on your skin, it makes your skin glow. You know, right now they're just using it as highlighter, you know, in makeup deal. Highlighter is all the rage right now, I guess. Mm-hmm. So, these millennials.
You're a millennial.
No,
aren't you technically a millennial?
Because
there's like millennials, Gen Y, Gen X,
maybe.
And boomers.
I don't know. I'm like an 80s baby, so
I think you're a millennial.
I'll be a millennial.
To you. You're like these millennials.
These crazy kids. No.
You're like, oh my God.
You're a millennial.
So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Should we talked about angels versus fairies. Mm-hmm. We kind of gave a couple of fairy experiences. Yeah, I'm sure that if we should we do some
Would you
readings?
Like to play?
I would love to. I mean, if they would be interested in watching, don't forget you can call in.
Yeah, if you guys want a reading, I will pull a fairy card for you, and you will be so excited you don't even know.
But you'll know if you do it, if you call in. So, but
exactly.
Yeah. So how many fairy decks do you think there are for?
Oh gosh,
I mean,
there's
are
so
there
many.
A lot?
There's a lot of fairy decks. I mean, there's even fairy tarot cards right now. Doreen Virtue came out with a fairy tarot deck, which is nice.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
So it would be like all the kings, all the queens, they would just be in the fairy genre?
Yes. So what they do is, you know how tarot cards, they have two, basically sections, the major and minor arcana. So for the major arcana, they have like maybe a picture of a fairy like as an empress, and that's fine. For the minor arcana, they split it down into 4 suits like a deck of playing cards.
Right.
And so we have 4 elements. So the cups, the fire, so the water, the fire, the
wands,
earth, and the air. Yes. And so what they do is they make the swords be unicorns. And because the unicorn horn is like a sword,
yes.
So they make them be unicorns. The fairies are the earth or the coins, because they're like more of the earth.
So
and
the fairies
forest.
would be only one element of that deck.
Yes, but they have the fairies as the major arcana too.
Yes.
And they have fairies kind of playing around with.
Yes,
whichever.
But it's not like just like 78 cards of just different fairies. Okay, but that's cool.
If you want just fairies, yes, if you want just fairies, it's not a tarot deck, but it is an oracle deck. And that's where that Brian Froud comes in. Him and his wife, Wendy, they create this amazing oracle deck. And let's see. I'll see if I can show you some of the pictures of his art.
I really like the font of this. I like the font. I mean, it almost looks like a Snow White. Like you get that whole essence of Old English, I think.
Yes.
That's what I think we're seeing is that whole Old English.
Yes, because
is this what you're looking for, or is that what you have?
That one's a cute one too, Fairy Tale Oracle. That one is cute because they look like Bratz, like the Bratz dolls.
Yeah.
They look adorable. I love that. Actually, I really want to get that deck.
Do you want to get
that? That looks wicked cute.
We should just show everybody what's in these magazines. I would collect every deck.
Yes.
Look, I keep referencing Snow White, and Snow White is one of the the cards. So if you guys are interested, you can see.
Yes.
See? And that's the deck, and there's like the Snow White card.
Yes, and then Brian Froud's deck, he has a totally different type of artwork. So it's more of like a Jim Henson thing. So it's more
That's funny that you and I did that Jim Henson party thing.
I know we did. Okay, so seriously, this was so fun.
That's like a coincidence. I wasn't going to say anything,
dude, we
but
totally
it's the second time you mentioned it.
It was so
We did an
cool.
event.
Okay, so Jim Henson hired us. What was it, for Halloween?
I think it was. It's hard to. I don't know if that was a Christmas party.
Yeah, it was.
I can't remember.
Cool. So like one of the fun things about living in LA and being a card reader is sometimes really fun companies that you've loved your whole life hire you. It's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It is. We do get that kind of flavor here.
Yes.
That actually I'm pretty grateful for, because I'm from Philly, and it would be different.
Right?
I wouldn't have access. I wouldn't be able to drive 20 minutes and be on set somewhere, or
You would
get to
never-
meet people
yeah.
that are doing things that are innovative and interesting. You know,
Mhm.
it's not to say that other parts of the country do not have interesting, innovative people, but it seems like when it all conglomerates
Yeah.
conglomerates in one area, there's a spillover, so
But
that it creates more opportunities for more people to do more things.
Absolutely. But we were talking before the show about how sometimes in different areas of the country, they don't really have a culture that really embraces the metaphysics. And so, like, if you are for me, I grew up in Boston. And so Boston is kind of corporate-y, very conservative. It's have
also
maybe
really old.
It's really old. And you would think that they would embrace it because of Salem, with the witches
but they
and
were
everything.
anti.
But they were anti. And so being in Boston, growing up there, they weren't really embracing the metaphysics. Salem, sort of, Ouija board, sort of, but they never really were into like the New Age. It would be a lot more like Christian, Catholic, that sort of stuff.
Yes.
I'm Jewish.
And it was probably very polarized.
It was very polarized. Well, because it's also a lot of times where all the immigrants would come in and settle.
And they were Puritans.
And they were Puritans there. There's like, oh yeah, seriously, this country, it's multi-layered.
It is. It is.
So yeah.
I would love if I don't know what you want to do now, if you want to talk about the deck or if you want to give me a reading, but if you're okay with it, I would love to have a reading, but I would also love to have a reading about the country.
Yeah, we can totally.
Think? Do you think we should do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Can we do that?
Totally.
Okay. But anyway, I don't want to stop you because we still have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you were gonna.
Well, let's give you the reading.
Derail you.
And then we can expand upon to the country.
Okay.
Because I know that there's a lot of stuff going on politically right now. Everybody has been up in.
Everybody's so nervous, and talk about polarization. Like there's part of the population that says, you need to relax and we need to just let things happen and let people be in control.
Yeah.
And then there's another part that says, hey, the way things are going are not going to be beneficial for people. So, so it is like real. I've never been alive in a time like this. I've read about this in books. I've seen it happen in other countries. Yeah. But to have it happen here, we were always so neutral.
Yeah, we were
like a little bit like Switzerland.
Yes.
So it is very interesting. So, okay, so do you want me to ask a question? Or?
Yeah, so feel free to shuffle the cards.
Are these two separate decks,
They're two separate decks.
So which one should I use?
You can shuffle both decks, but you keep them separate.
Okay, so should I ask a question?
Yeah.
Does that sound good? I don't even have a question, which is rare for me because I usually could probably pop out like 5 a day.
I'm sure you could. We're in this world, so we do cards all the time.
Yes.
We always want to know something.
Right. But I don't know. Like, should we ask, since I'm doing I guess I could ask about the podcast.
Yeah, let's ask about that.
Like, is this something that is far-reaching, or is this something that should just kind of stay where it's at, and that's okay? Or should I should we advertise more? I mean, those are good questions.
Those are very good questions.
Okay, so do you want me to? What should I do?
So cool. So when you fill that's shuffled.
I wanted to make a question that other people could relate to, because this is about you guys too.
Yeah.
So I'm asking like a group question. Like, do they like it? Is it informative enough?
That's awesome.
All right. So should I do 3? Is it okay if I do? All right. So there we
go.
Good.
So that's that one. And shuffle this one up.
Oh, no. Now I have to think of a second question, right?
No, it just gets your energy on them. I mean, we can go multiple questions with one deck.
All right. Okay.
So, yeah.
You mean one question with multiple decks?
Yeah, we can just play around with it. It all comes out.
So
there's no wrong way to shuffle.
Thank you for doing this for me. And then afterwards, stick around, because we're going to see what's going to happen, on a nationwide level.
Absolutely, yes.
All right. So this is... Should I do nationwide with this?
Sure.
All right, let's do that.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really good one.
I want to see, what I'm really interested in is if things are going to kind of calm down and everybody will agree more, and that, oops, something just popped out. Do you want to see it? Do you want to see it?
Let's see. Oh, wow, this is fascinating. Oh my gosh. Okay. Actually, this is very ironic. So talking about the nation and everything, I don't know if you guys know, but China bought our debt. So that was something that was interesting. And so going into business with China is something that is, I would say, pertinent to our country because now we're in business with them and everything. So what's interesting is I wouldn't be surprised if something has to do with China and America soon, because it says debt paid off.
Oh, wow.
And it says the old
I was wondering why you were talking about debt. And then you got that card.
the country has the deficit. It has the $1 trillion whatever deficit.
Right.
So, and again, I'm not a political person. I don't know too much about politics, but, from this, so I may get facts about politics wrong. Everybody has different ideas of what they think facts are about politics. But from my own guessing knowledge, and from what the cards say that I can channel, is it says the old weight and habit of debt is lifted from you and your life. So I would say that since China bought some of our deficit or bought our debt, that maybe we might be indebted to China. Maybe we pay off that debt, or maybe because they have bought some of our debt, that this may relate to, I would say, our two countries. So if you want to pull another card, we can expand on maybe what might happen with China.
Okay. All right, so I'll just do the same thing I did before.
All right.
We'll just keep this. I mean, do we know for sure this is about China yet, or?
I would assume, because I would say that to me, in my mind, it would connect to China, since they are the ones that's involved with our debt, and this is about the debt.
Right. Okay.
So I would assume so. 3 more indicating cards, either about this or other things with the nation. I put 3 cards here. And then this is the podcast. So while, staying on this topic.
These cards are so beautiful.
Oh, yes. And just
it's like I don't even want her to turn them over because they're so pretty to look at.
That's what I need to, there we go. Debt paid off. So that is that card.
I like that next to me because it looked like I'm going to get my debt paid off.
Maybe.
You had debt paid off and then my face.
That would be fabulous. Madison takes care of the debt, all y'all. So don't you worry. She's taking care of it all for you.
So this was the podcast. This is the nation.
Yes. Oh, well, this is a theme that we've all been dealing with. And depending, you guys may be like, yay, or you may be like, that's horrible, then based on your opinion. But it says goodbye to the old, hello to the new. So that to me just talks about Obama leaving and Trump coming in. Goodbye to the old president, hello to the new president.
Well, it's definitely like a transition.
Yeah.
That card's about transition.
Exactly. I will try to be as objective as possible about politics, even though, of course, I have my own thoughts about what feelings about things. So I'd say, so goodbye to the old president and hello to the new. And then this also represents they're trying to change older kind of bills, documents, healthcare. They're trying to change around all these things. And so they're trying to
that would definitely
introduce new substitutes.
But that would definitely be goodbye to the old, because everything that's transforming right now is sort of like being thrown away a little bit, and hello to the new. So, and maybe that's telling us that we might not have a choice. It might just be goodbye to the old,
maybe
hello
goodbye
to the new.
Yes. But what I do
we'll see what happens with the other 2 cards.
Yeah, the ray of hope in this card, because I know that for a lot of people, myself actually, goodbye to the old is painful, scary, sad, confusing, that sort of thing. It's shocking. But the ray of hope in this card that I like, it says you've finished one part of your life and now a new and even better part is beginning. So even though there are these changes that can cause a lot of, hesitation in people or that, it does seem like that there is a new part of things that are beginning. So hopefully there will also be some new beginnings with maybe some legislation. I mean, there are a lot of parts of the government that are operating. There is a president, but there's the House and there's the Senate and there's Congress and there's prime justices. There's a lot of government that operates. So, it seems like there are going to be some new things also introduced.
Well, also when one door opens, another door closes. I mean, that is always true, that when there's ever any sort of restructuring, something comes out of that rubble.
Yeah, definitely.
Always. So, okay.
For this card, I get marriage. The fairies join you in celebrating wedded bliss. So the marriage card
is a positive card.
It is positive. So either it could literally be the marriage between Trump, and his wife are showing something to society. Or it may be that our country is going to become in partnership or married to something else. So maybe, again, like the going into business with China with the deficit, maybe there's going to be a contract or a business signed between our two countries. So there could be that. And it's orange. Okay. And I get the children card. So your connection with children is part of your life's purpose. So hopefully some of the new beginnings will be in regards to marriage and families. I know that there's a lot of talk about gay marriage that has been passed hopefully that will be able to stick around. Hopefully there'll be some more acceptance globally about marriage and gay marriage, maybe.
Yeah.
And then also children, advocating for children's rights. So I feel like the positive new beginnings will be that there are some good beginnings in regards to marriage and good beginnings in regards to kids. And again, people are watching this all over the US. So some people out there may be like, gay marriage is horrible. And other people may be like, gay marriage is great. So, I know you all have different opinions.
Yes, but marriage is also about us meeting in the middle and really representing both sides and finding a happy medium.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say also about children is in the context of the world, I would say that United States is a child because it's so new compared to the age of, Europe and Asia and everywhere else. So basically, I would say that we're almost looked at as the kid. And then when we talk about world powers, I would say that our world power is also very new in the last 300 years. Whereas like England had a world power for a very long time. Rome had one for a very long time. So I would say that also our come to power is new and young. Mm-hmm. So
interesting.
Yeah. So do you have any questions about the nation stuff, about either the cards that are brought up? Oh, and I'll show these other cards.
I'm just wondering, are there any negative cards in the deck at all?
Well, it depends on your interpretation of them. Usually the fairy deck is pretty light and fluffy, honestly.
Yeah, it seems very light and fluffy to me.
This is the marriage card. Usually I like to use these cards when I'm going through a really vulnerable time in my life. Mm-hmm. Like I was talking to one of my friends before who used to work at Mystic Journey. And at the time, she was going through a really tough time. And so she just didn't really want to hear anything negative at all. It was too sensitive. So I was like, do you want me to just pull out the unicorn deck? And she's like, yes. And I was like, oh, look at this. Here's fun. Here is, like all these cards that come off that are very, very exceptionally light and fluffy because it's actually a deck that's more made for children.
But sometimes
sometimes you need that.
Sometimes, yeah, but also sometimes you have to go through the dark to get to the light.
Yeah.
I really believe that. And it's not always a pleasant thought.
No. And what I've learned
it seems to balance everything.
Yeah. And also like what I've learned is when you're in a really vulnerable, very fragile emotional state, it's probably best, or what I've learned in therapy and in psychology that I'm studying, is it's not about like plowing through it with harsh truths. Sometimes it's just about that gentle nurturing of self-care that will allow you to kind of gently take in the information you need to know.
Very true.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Should we look at the podcast?
Okay.
I figured it's a pertinent question and it pertains to this moment. So
it talks about you guys for real, actually.
Oh, see, I did a reading for you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the first one is making new friends.
See, oh my God. And if you're a friend, wait, I have to say, if you're a friend, give a thumbs up. I have about, I don't know how many there came on today, but each time I do the show, we're getting more and more viewers.
Nice.
That's why I'm trying to be so consistent. I missed a week last week. So I'm trying to do 2 shows this weekend to make up for it. I have another show tomorrow at noon because it's always Saturdays at 3 or Sundays at noon. But yeah, I mean, I would love to know who these followers are.
Yes.
But apparently you guys are friends. So.
Yeah, it's new friends. So if you're a new follower, give a shout out. Hey to everyone. And definitely make yourself known and watch our show at later episodes because they're going to be cool. So I would say the podcast is about that you're expanding the reach. So making new friends, having new viewers, and that's great.
Awesome.
Also, I get problem resolved. So if you've had a problem, maybe technical issues with retrograde that we just had.
Yeah.
So we just had a Mercury retrograde. And so if you guys have felt for the last 3 weeks that things were skewy with communication, technological issues, travel issues, that's done. And we also had, right before that, we have Venus that was retrograde, which is money and love. So that was retrograde for 6 weeks. So we've been in a major retrograde time period since March 3rd.
Are we completely out, or did another planet go retrograde?
Well, okay, so Jupiter went retrograde, but that's not as troublesome as Mercury or Venus. So Jupiter is a planet of good luck, but good luck can just be like luck overall. I would say that is, again, as the planets get more outwards or further from the sun, they will affect us in different ways. And so Jupiter, I would say retrograde, it may feel like, oh, I'm not really having the luckiest day today, but at least you're not missing your flight.
How long does Jupiter go retrograde? Is it like a 3-week period, just like Mercury? Or?
Yeah, it's like I think I have to look it up, but maybe like 2 months or so.
Oh, but, 2 months.
Because Jupiter stays in a sign for a year.
Yes.
And so it will go retrograde and then backward, forward again.
It moves slower on the outside of the orbit.
Yeah.
Right, I see.
Yeah, and so for people who have a question about retrograde, because this is something that comes up a lot, is so imagine you have like the sun. So you have the sun here, and planets are going around all the time, but it's not a circle that the orbit is, it's an elliptical. So it actually goes around like an oval. So sometimes when planets go around a curve, it can look like one of the closer planets, Mercury, is going around kind of like this racetrack, slower than an outer planet, which might look like it's going around faster. And so that's why 3 times in the year, Mercury will give the appearance of going retrograde. Venus does it every year and a half. So Mars does it. So these planets will do it. It's just a little bit later.
And it affects us. And by the way, I want to just add to it, that's a really good definition. I've also heard it described as if you're driving in your car and there's 2 cars at a red light.
Yes.
If you move forward, it will give you the appearance that the car next to you is moving backwards when it's really not.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Do you know we did a show about Mercury retrograde with, I don't know if you know Richard Simon Kahn. He works at the Crystal Matrix.
Oh, I used to work at the Crystal Matrix.
I didn't know that.
I can't believe I don't know him. Maybe he came in after I left or whichever. Yeah, I used to work there.
Yeah, so he came on and we did a show. It was good because I'm not a big transit person, although I know about astrology, but I don't really study the transits. And he alerted everybody about when the next Mercury retrograde was going to be. He gave it to us for the whole year.
Nice.
And told us what to expect. And so they're definitely familiar with that, but it's good to explain why it happens, because a lot of people don't have the awareness. Like, what does it mean? Why is the planets going backwards?
Yeah. A lot of times people haven't studied it. And so some people may have heard of the term, but not understand it, or, I've studied it.
Right.
But I love that he was on. That's amazing.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes. So what's the last?
The last card, I feel like, is you. Oh. And it's a card that's kindness. Oh. And I feel like people are watching because of your lovely energy. And I feel like the kindness represents who you are as a person, your love for others. And it takes a special person to include other people in the community, if you would say, to be on the show. Sometimes in LA, I've seen that sometimes things can be very competitive, where people that are fear-based don't want to include, but you have always been so welcoming and loving and kind and including. And I think that that's a testament to your character.
Thank you so much.
Definitely.
That means a lot to me. And I do think that's true. And I think there needs to be, can I talk about that for a minute? I don't think we've ever been, since it came up, I don't think we've ever been in a time in modern present day where we need more kindness.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
I almost thought about listing a list of maybe 10 things that are mindless that people could do to be kind to each other, because it's these little things that are going to connect and hopefully keep us in this compassionate state of mind, because everybody is so crazy right now. They're either inundated with technology or they're inundated with the news, and they're forgetting about these little tiny things that make us human.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree.
I was going to make a list.
Please.
like just smile at someone. It sounds so cheesy, but when you're driving and you see someone behind you or not behind you, they wouldn't see you smile.
Right? Hi. Oops.
They would think you were nuts.
Maybe if you're passing someone on the street or something, and
or
you
maybe
feel
your
like
head
nice.
could just do like the Exorcist turn and smile.
That's awesome. Do that, guys. Yeah. That's gonna be good.
Yes, just make sure your head does the 180 and
make sure
smile.
you're driving.
But watch out for the car in front of you.
Oh,
but smiling is so underrated. And if you smile at a stranger, I mean, it just automatically releases some, maybe it's endorphins, but it helps them feel better. Hold a door for somebody. I could have been out of a place like 25 seconds sooner.
Yeah.
And there was a guy, he was walking with crutches, and I actually stayed there. There was like a pause. Like I could have just left. And I was like, "Oh, are you leaving now?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, thank you so much." And he hobbled over with his crutches, and he really appreciated that. And he's like, "I busted my leg," or I was like, "Oh, I hope you feel better." And we had this like maybe 1.5 minute connection, but I left feeling like I did something good.
You did.
And I think he felt like somebody cared.
Yeah, no,
You
it's exactly right. I know because I was on the other side of that experience. Yesterday I was working at Mystic Journey, and we on Fridays we get off at like really late, so like 11. And so on first Friday you have to park really far away from the store to get to your car.
I remember those first Fridays.
Oh my God, those first Fridays.
Remember when I worked there, you used to take me on those walks?
We used to go to get food.
He used to take me. There's like, okay, so first Fridays in Venice, like the hip thing about Venice is the first Friday at every month, there's food trucks.
Yes.
It becomes the land of food trucks.
Oh my God.
Trucks. So there's like, you can say better than me, like the grilled cheese truck, the shrimp and scampi truck, the cupcake truck.
Yeah.
And you took me, we were looking for the cupcake truck, remember?
Yes. Did you end up that they weren't as good as sprinkles?
Yes, that's right. And then I actually brought you a sprinkles
and it was
in
very
gratitude of taking me on this cupcake journey. I was like, you had never had sprinkles.
No, I had never had a sprinkles cupcake.
And I was like, you have to try this. And I brought it from my neighborhood because we have sprinkles right here.
Yes.
But I'm sorry. I always interrupt people.
No, I love
Go ahead.
it.
What were you saying?
we have a really fun energy because I'm a Sag rising and she's a Sag.
Oh,
and
I
so
forgot that.
Yeah,
You're
so
a
that makes us
Scorpio.
really, yes.
With the Sag. What's your moon again?
Scorpio.
Yeah, so I'm a Cancer moon.
Oh, yes. And your rising is again?
Aries.
Fun. That's a lot of fire.
Yeah.
So fun.
Yeah.
So very cool. So yeah, so I was walking back to my car and it was cold and it was starting to get very misty and I had this hoodie on and I put this black hoodie on and I'm walking to my car at like 11 o'clock at night, and there are these couple of people that were walking down the street and they're all drunk. And so this like really pretty drunk girl, she like leaves her pack and she like comes over and she's like, hi, and she gives me like this big hug and I'm like, okay, not street smart safe of you, but hi, drunk girl. And so she was just really
I love
like,
you're like, hi, drunk girl.
this like adorable cute hot drunk girl. It was like really sweet and like with this pretty red lipstick and she was just smiling really big. And
but the question is, Solaris, does it count if they're drunk?
I
don't know if that counts. It does?
Yes,
because we have to do it when we don't feel like doing it.
Well,
that's the whole point of being kind.
Yes, but no, she was just very outgoing and I felt like she was just giving me a lot of love and kindness. And then she'd be like hugged and everything and she went back to her pack. And then she left her pack again and she bounced over and she was like, oh, can we be Instagram friends? And I was like, we can absolutely do that. And don't worry, when you sober up, we're going to hang out. And she like invited me to the bar and I didn't go. And so.
Oh my God, how funny.
Yeah, so now we're Instagram friends and we message back and forth. And I'm going to totally like hang out with her in Hollywood one day.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Yeah, because
she really, she really felt a connetion with you, obviously.
Yes, but I wouldn't recommend her continuing to go up to random strangers wearing black hoodies at the middle of the night on Abbott Kinney. But that was a nice story. And I felt like her kindness really turned my day around. It really cheered me up.
Well, that's the thing. It's like the littlest thing you do. And, this is perfect to talk about during our fairy segment because I feel like, assuming that fairies are real, that's really all they want is for people to play and to be kind.
Yeah, exactly. They usually talk about like laughing at things. Yeah. Like finding the humor in the situation is a good way to boost your mood and playing and definitely getting creative. Anything artistic.
What other ways can people be kind? So we have smiling at strangers, holding doors. Like I'm really trying to streamline it to really easy things.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I thought of something. So pick one person a day that you don't know that you compliment.
Yeah. Oh, that stuff I love.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So maybe you're in the elevator with someone and you happen to like notice that they have this really cool, like sparkly bag.
Yes.
So you're like, hey, that's like a really great bag. Or it could just be someone that you're just like, hey, I like you've got good energy. Did you know that? Or, where'd you get your haircut? Like we don't connect enough. So
exactly.
All right, I have 3 things. Anyway, I'll have to ponder this and
I like it.
Come up with more.
Maybe you could do like your kindness of the day to like your podcast.
That would be great. Like so you guys have 3, so I'll come up with 7 more and I'll do it. That's such a good idea.
Yay.
Oh my God.
Thank you. And maybe that's enhancing the podcast.
Yes.
Your kindness of segment of the week.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yay.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Sure.
Where you're, where like a website or?
Definitely. So my website is www.fairyastrology.com. and fairy is spelled like Tinkerbell, so it's Fairy, Astrology. And that's basically where you can see all my services that I offer, the readings that I do, different shows and videos I've done and stuff like that. So that's where you can find me for that. You can add me on Instagram with my real name, which is Jamie Allen 777. So that's Jaime Allen Allen. Facebook, same, Jamie Allen on Facebook. So yeah, all sorts of fun stuff. You can come into Mystic Journey. You can get a reading. I can do a phone or a Skype reading anywhere in the country. And we'll do all sorts of fun stuff.
Did you ever work like as a fairy princess? Like
Yes.
for Disney? Did you
Not
tell
for
me
Disney.
this, or did I ask you this?
No, when I used to,
because you have that essence.
Aw,
you do.
I used to live in Florida, and so sometimes for parties they would want me to dress up like a fairy and
Did
go
we
to kids'
talk
parties.
about this before?
Maybe we
okay,
did.
because it's like I feel like I'm having deja vu, or maybe I thought it and I didn't tell you. I don't know. But so you used to dress up like that for the kids.
Yeah,
oh
for the
my
kids,
God, I love it.
They love that sort of thing, and yeah, totally, anytime.
Well, it's nice to know that we can, whether we're a kid or not, we can keep the fairy energy alive in the kid in all of us.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
All right. Well, anyway, this was a very successful segment. Thank you so much, Solaris,
Thank you, love,
for coming.
Oh, this is so much fun
with your fairy energy and your fairy essence and your good vibes. And thank you again for tuning in. Please join us tomorrow at noon. I'll be back. All right. Good night. Good night, everybody. And now